This time on Ask Rad Rat, we're figuring out if all of the best pros are goofy. Welcome back to Rad Rat Video, a channel all about skateboarding where we talk about things from all different areas in the skateboarding world, and I like to answer your questions on this series, Ask Rad Rat. If you have any questions at all, please go to radratvideo.com and submit them there. I'm running pretty low. I've got a few for you today. I've got two from Aaron. I'm going to answer his second one first. He asks, does it seem like people are starting to skate bigger boards now in general? I see a lot of skate videos where people have like 54 or above millimeter wheels and large boards. Am I the only one who noticed this? Is 54 big? I don't know. 52 was the standard as a kid, you know, like when I first started skating, and 54 was like the slightly bigger one. You could get a 53. There were some brands that started to make those. I don't think that's big. Per se, but boards definitely got a lot bigger. So I stopped skating for a while because I had just gotten this job and I was driving an hour and a half each way, get home and just go straight to bed. Like I would skate every now and then, and so I just had all my old gear. And then I started to get more back into skating, and then boards were like an inch bigger. You know, like things have gotten a lot bigger from when I started to now. But if you go a little bit further back, then they're the same size. You know, like stuff kind of comes and goes. They are bigger now than they were in like 2006, but you know, they're not bigger than they were in 92, you know, although the wheels are bigger than they were in 92. All right. Your main question though, what are your thoughts on modern skateboard graphics like Quasi, FA, hockey, etc.? Am I the only one that feels like 90% of the skateboard brands out there today have ugly graphics? When compared to the graphics from the 80s and 90s, I have no choice but to believe that the general quality of artwork for deck graphics has dropped off significantly. Just my opinion, though. All right, I don't want to say anything bad about Quasi. We're actually working on a secret project that will hopefully come out late summer, early fall, maybe. I was out filming for that for a while today, so stay tuned for that. So I'm not trying to say anything bad about them, but I think there's two different things that are happening here. First is, like, if you ask anybody what the best songs, the best time frame when, you know, like the greatest songs of all time came out, they will usually tell you it's the time they were in high school, you know. And that's the same for me. Like from 2000 to 2010 is like the best time. Everything was amazing there. The best songs of that era will hang with anything. And I think what happens for most people is that, well, first of all, it was like a important time in your life where you're building your tastes. So you build a taste for the things that were out then, and then now that it's different, it doesn't feel as good. I think that's a small part of it. But also, like, if I were to compare that stuff to the stuff now, I'm thinking of the best songs of a whole decade and comparing it to the top 10 songs right now, and that's not fair. You know, you're just thinking of the greatest hits. You're not thinking of an average song from that time period. And I think that's part of the thing with boards. Like, you know, you're thinking of your very favorite graphics that came out in 1993 and comparing it to just a team deck that came out right now. And I don't think it's really a direct comparison. But I do think there is something to be said for it, because I've never designed a skateboard, although that is, you know, I do lots of stuff for clients. I designed a skateboard once, but I just turned it into a t-shirt. I never made it into a skateboard, but I do that kind of stuff all the time, making stuff for brands and, you know, coming up with different things. And one thing I have come to appreciate is like how much easier things are now, but how much quicker the turnaround times are. So like if you said, and you came to me and you said, hey, I want a skateboard, I just want to say my name, just real big on it. Now, if you did that way back in the day, that would be hand done. You can't just type it and scale it up real big. You would have to draw it out. And if you're drawing it anyway, you might as well do this and this and this. You might as well put some cracks in it. You might as well, like, I don't know, you know, put some touches to it. But for me right now, when I'm doing that type of work, I'm going to start with a font. I'm going to type it. And yeah, I might tweak that font slightly and do some different things. And I can experiment with, you know, stuff a little bit quicker. But making something on a computer is a lot different from doing something by hand. And if you prefer the by hand stuff, then stuff from the olden days is going to be better. But I had a note in here. There was a skate brand in the 90s, and I looked up. I thought it was Blind. I thought it was Girl. I couldn't find who it was because I was able to look through their all their old boards and not find it. But there was a company that they would just take like an art book and just like make a copy of it, and that was how they were making their boards. And like, that's not good. It's not a good graphic to just have like a little sliver of a painting and then like someone's name, like the pro whoever's board that is, just written on it. Like, that's not good design. That doesn't look good. It wasn't designed to be in that size and in that format. And it's like a scan of a book that was printed, like there was some really bad stuff too at that time. So, if that's your preference, that's fine. I do think there is something to be said for what you're talking about, but it's not necessarily it was better and now it's bad. I don't think it's as simple as that. All right. Next question is from Lamont, who says, question I've never been able to ask a legitimate skater before. Do you think it makes sense to love skateboarding but not know how to do tricks? So he skates around and not very often. I would wonder whether you found the right type of stuff to do. When I first started skating, the stuff I was really into is like the super tech, like a kick flip, nose grind, and like a flip out, and like, as it turns out, my balance was not that good. I could do some very simple stuff. I could do a flip in or a flip out. I couldn't do both, that type of stuff. So like the things that I got good at are not the things I like to watch. So I would be thinking about like, maybe you love skateboarding and you love to watch it. Maybe you're good at this other different thing, like still inside skateboarding, but you might love to watch street, but you're good at ramps, I would at least consider trying it. Like, I think you would love it a lot more if you were participating in it more. That said, like, I know plenty of people who like sports but don't play any sports. Like it's not a weird thing to be a fan of something without actually being a part of it. Like I know a lot about what tricks are on like different types of things. I've never been on a bike and tried to do like a 360, but I've watched a lot of people do it. So I don't know. It's not that strange, but I would still consider like trying a little bit more. Okay. Next question is from Ben, who says, hey, love your channel. I was wondering if there's a correct way to hold flamingos with your back leg. I just watched your video part and you only hold it with your back foot, where I kind of hold it with the whole bottom half of my back leg parallel to the board. Looked them up on YouTube and saw both ways, so I figured I'd get your take. Well, that clip was from like 2005. I mean, it was pretty good. I didn't have any problem with the way I did that trick. Now, that trick is also called a calf wrap because a flamingo is also like a nose pivot, and then you ride fakie with just like 1 foot down, like on the nose and backwards. So like, and that kind of makes sense. They're both tricks where you're standing on a foot, but I just thought I'd throw it out there. There's not necessarily a correct way to do it. It just has to look good, and you can land it by either doing the full wrap and then just dropping it down, or you can like do the wrap, catch it, and then unwrap it, which I think looks cooler, but it doesn't mean that the other way doesn't count. It's like anything in skateboarding. You can do it any way you want to do. The only time it matters is if you're comparing it to someone else, or like, you're playing a game of skate or something where it really matters that you did the same thing. But no one's going to do a calf wrap in a game of skate. All right. The next question is from Ed, who says, do you think most of the most prolific skateboarders all skate goofy, such as Tony Hawk, Nigel Houston, Bam Margera, or even Paul Rodriguez? I don't think I would put Bam on that list. But what stance you are is a really complicated thing. I've tried to figure it out before. It is not like if you're right-handed or left-handed, or what foot you prefer to kick with. I honestly think it's just the way you start. If someone was about to be one stance and you just like told them that they were wrong and to do it the other way, I don't think it would end up making that much of a difference. I think you just kind of learn, like, you're slightly more comfortable. You're making that decision on day one of skateboarding. You don't know anything about skateboarding. And even being someone who has skated for over 20 years, I couldn't tell you the best way to pick out your stance. Like, it doesn't seem to be based on anything. But that said, if the best skaters in the world are all one stance, all the new skaters coming up are probably going to be that stance too, which would keep it going. That said, being goofy is slightly less common. From the research I did, it was on like Skate Park of Tampa keeps like a database of everyone who skates there, and they have a lot of people who've skated there, and I think that's where it came from. It was like slightly less common to be goofy, but not as much. There was a contest called GVR, Goofy versus Regular, and it went from 2004 to 2008, I think, and Goofy only won in 05 and 06. So they lost 3 times and won twice. So think like if the best skaters in the world are all competing in this competition, there were big names there. Goofy lost more than they won. And so I came up with a list of some of the best regular skaters that came to mind, such as Luan Oliveira, Rick McCrank, Sean Malto, Ryan Sheckler, Andrew Reynolds, Ryan DiCenzo, Chris Cole, Ed Templeton, Mark Johnson, Danny Way, Bob Burnquist, and Rodney Mullen, like the guy who invented all the tricks that you care about, or at least invented the basis for all the tricks you care about, was regular. So like right now, maybe your favorite pros are all goofy, but like historically that hasn't necessarily been the case. As far back as that contest run, I don't remember if I said from like 04 to 08, I think. And like, that doesn't mean all that much, but it goes to show it's not a blowout. It's not like all the goofy skaters are the best. So yeah, even like long term, even if it's your favorites are all goofy, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that the people who have, you know, made a big influence on skateboarding have all been a certain stance. And again, I don't think it matters. I think I could have picked being goofy when I first started, and I would have been fine. Maybe some tricks would have worked slightly better than different ones, but maybe not. You know, it's a complicated thing. But that's it for now. If you have any questions, go to radratvideo.com and you can submit them there on the homepage. Aside from that, if you like the video, you can hit the like button. You can hit the join button to get access to some fun chat emojis, and you can sponsor me on Patreon if you want to do that. But that's it for now, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out.